Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. Now, Tyson Fury is really on a roll because he spoke about the time he FaceTimed Deontay Wilder after their fight in February. He actually called Deontay Wilder in March to talk to him, but he called him a dosser and Deontay Wilder has not answered the phone to him since. So we do know that Deontay Wilder has been pretty silent after that fight. He hasn't spoken to any media much really, he hasn't put much online, and in my opinion that's probably the best thing for Deontay Wilder, especially after all the excuses. He's going to get a lot of stick for that, especially the trilogy fight week. So he needs to kind of, I don't know, get ready for that in some way. There's no getting ready for those kind of excuses. But ultimately, that is the time that he will have to face his demons when he sees Tyson Fury again. And when he actually gets back into the ring for the third time with Tyson Fury, the only man to beat him in the professional ranks. Now, when Tyson Fury was asked about his conversations with Deontay Wilder, this is what he had to say. "I've not heard a thing. He took a FaceTime from me in March after the rematch. I called him a bit of a big dosser and then he didn't answer the phone to me again." So obviously Deontay Wilder didn't want to deal with the fact that Tyson Fury was going to call him up and call him a dosser. He does that to everyone. I think he does it to Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn, all of them. That is kind of Tyson Fury's thing. But ultimately, Deontay Wilder is probably doing the right thing by having this media silence, and it will benefit him until fight week, because Tyson Fury will find a way into Deontay Wilder's head, no matter what he does. But clearly, Deontay Wilder just doesn't want to deal with the guy he's going to be rematching in, hopefully December. I mean, this fight is on and off, and it's moving all the time. I don't know when they are going to do it. I don't know why they just don't get this fight over with, so it's done. I mean, Tyson Fury is clearly the better man. I think he beat him first time. He definitely beat him second time. And no disrespect to Deontay Wilder, but I believe he's going to do it a third time. Unless Tyson Fury sleeps on him. Unless Tyson Fury doesn't prepare diligently for this third fight, then Deontay Wilder can beat Fury. But I think that the best Tyson Fury will always beat the best Deontay Wilder. That's just the way it is. No disrespect intended towards Deontay Wilder. That's just how it's going to go. I think Tyson Fury has truly got Deontay Wilder's number. And the time that Deontay Wilder needs to get ready for this third fight just isn't enough. He needs to learn so many things, change so many things, that I just don't believe he can. I mean, the excuses, they don't help him at all. And it's all right for him to make excuses and then for his team to say, no, you lost to the better man. That's not great, but it's better than your team making excuses for you. Because what happened is that Deontay Wilder made excuses about the costume, but then Junior Farr, sparring partners, his team, came out with injured biceps and other things as well, and glovegate problems and all of that with Tyson Fury. I mean, one of them even said that there was a member of Sugar Hill's team shouting to Mark Breland to throw the towel in for Deontay Wilder. How ridiculous is that? So it is actually worse that it's coming from his team and not Deontay Wilder, because if it was coming from Deontay Wilder, his team could just say, okay, put that aside, let's focus on training, let's focus on getting better, improving all of the things we need to, working on all of the things that we need to work on, then get ready for this third fight. But it's not. It's his team who are making more excuses than Deontay Wilder. And the last thing Deontay Wilder needs around him right now is a yes man. And that seems to be what he has got, apart from Mark Breland. And there are just so many things that Deontay Wilder needs to work on for this third fight. And does he have the time to learn them? Does he have the time and know-how to get there? Does he have the team around him that can take him to that place that he needs to go? I don't believe so. I think that in this fight, surprisingly, it's fine margins. I mean, Tyson Fury explained, if you stand there in front of Deontay Wilder, he will knock you out. If you don't do what he done, then you will still get knocked out. If you try and put him on the back foot under pressure, you'll get knocked out. The important thing to do is to have the right tactics. So what Tyson Fury was doing was he was positioning himself just to the side of Deontay Wilder. So he's reaching, and when Tyson Fury came under fire, which he did a couple of times, he landed a couple of right hands on Tyson Fury, did Deontay Wilder. But Tyson Fury always moved in the right direction to make sure that Deontay Wilder was reaching with that punch. That means there's not a lot of power in it. There's still a lot. I mean, Tyson Fury was still taking some hefty punches in there, but he was taking less powerful punches than he could have if he wasn't employing those tactics. So Tyson Fury had the perfect game plan. He was pushing Deontay Wilder back, stepping heavy with that lead foot, making sure that Deontay Wilder sees his presence there, making sure that Deontay Wilder doesn't have time to think. So what he does is he goes back in straight lines, or jabs and goes to the left. So Tyson Fury then can anticipate everything that Deontay Wilder is doing, and Tyson Fury is then making Deontay Wilder do what he wants him to do. Tyson Fury then can land punches at will, and what Deontay Wilder was also doing, which is criminal, is when he stepped back, he was being lazy with it. He was stepping back with his lead foot first, which meant his feet came square. And that just makes Tyson Fury's punches landing on Deontay Wilder so much more devastating. And that is what Tyson Fury needed to do, because everyone calls Tyson Fury pillow fists, feather dusters. He cannot punch, but he stopped Deontay Wilder. It wasn't just because Tyson Fury was working on those power punches. He was working how to position Deontay Wilder where he wanted him so that his punches would take a more devastating effect. And the thing is about Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury has been in there with Deontay Wilder twice. So has Deontay Wilder been in there twice with Tyson Fury, but the thing is, Tyson Fury has been studying Deontay Wilder. He's learned what he needs to do in order to beat Deontay Wilder. Wilder done the same thing in the second fight as in the first fight. That is why Tyson Fury knew how to beat him. Fury knew how he was going to beat Wilder in that 12th round. Something clicked. He got knocked down. He got up, then kind of gambled, stepped to Deontay Wilder, put him under pressure. Wilder could not deal with that and was probably moments away from either being knocked down or stopped in that 12th round himself after putting Fury down. So Fury was constantly learning about Deontay Wilder, especially through the course of that first fight, because maybe Fury knew he was going to be fighting him again, but Deontay Wilder was not learning. And in boxing, what is as important as many other things is being a student of the game. Deontay Wilder isn't necessarily a student of the game. Tyson Fury is. He's always getting better, looking at ways he can improve. Wilder has one thing, a big punch. It's worked for him throughout his whole career, but not against Tyson Fury, so he's neglected all of the boxing fundamentals that he would need if that big punch didn't happen. And ultimately, that cost him in the second fight with Fury. Look at Anthony Joshua, went guns blazing for a knockout against Ruiz, didn't get it, got caught with a punch that he didn't see coming, lost the fight, but he had those boxing fundamentals to go back to in the rematch, and that's how he won his boxing ability and how much he has learned along the way, as well as getting knockouts. So Anthony Joshua was then in a good position with his fundamentals to go into the rematch and outbox Andy Ruiz. The thing he needed to do, the game plan that he needed, he was capable of doing it. Whereas the game plan that Deontay Wilder needs to beat Tyson Fury, he doesn't have the fundamentals or abilities enabled to carry out that kind of game plan, which is kind of worrying for Deontay Wilder in the rematch. He needs to find a way to beat Tyson Fury, but does he have the abilities, the fundamentals, the know-how, the knowledge to do that? So guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Tyson Fury has revealed he has spoken to Deontay Wilder, but in a brief FaceTime call in March after their fight on 22nd of February. So Deontay Wilder doesn't want much contact with Tyson Fury anymore. Guys, anyway, drop your thoughts on this in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.